Darth, I'm curious about your trans position there. When you say a dude who thinks he's a woman, what exactly do you take woman to mean there?
A woman is somebody who is born, who has an XX chromosome and has reached adulthood.
Now, I don't mean to nitpick, but surely, like, you agree that a trans person doesn't actually have to have the belief that they have chromosomes they don't have, right?
I don't understand your question, and I'm truly not trying to be sarcastic.
No, it's okay. I'm challenging you a bit on it because I don't think I agree with your view on the trans people. Like when you say a dude pretending to be a woman, I'm just trying to understand what you mean by woman. And if you mean chromosomes, I don't think trans
Yeah,
people are pretending to have
yeah.
chromosomes they don't have.
I think that individuals like that um, are fantasizing that they are a sex that they are not.
I don't think that they're fantasizing to be another sex. They have another gender. Do you accept the sex gender distinction, or
I,
do you
I,
reject
I
that?
think that I think that's balderdash.
You don't think that there's sort of like performative aspects to
No, no. I take the view from the Christian worldview. In the beginning, God made them both male and female. You're either male or female. Even if you have a chromosomal disorder, you are still distinctly male or female. Even people who have anatomical malformations where they have a dual set of male and female genitals, they are still distinctly male or female. Now, the overwhelming majority of biological males who say that they're a trans woman, they are fantasizing that they are female.
well, I
F-
think
Femaleness has to do with physical characteristics. Now, they flip and they flop on that because if they don't believe that, then why are they taking hormones to grow bumps on their chests?
um
Why are they having their genitals mutilated if femaleness and maleness is not rooted in anatomy and originally in XX or XY chromosome?
well, for the gender, I think that's more of a psychological thing. Like I think the sex refers to those kind of physical
It's
characteristics.
not. That's not the way God sees it.
Does God actually comment about a like the gender sex separation not existing?
God made there's only two sexes. Okay,
They don't have to
you're
disagree
either
with that. Yeah.
you
They're
are you are you are either you're either male or you're female. There are no other distinctions.
but someone could grant you that part and say there are two sexes, but additionally say there are genders and that someone can have a sex
That's
that differs from their
that's
gender.
that's that that that's that's just delusion.
What if
That's
gender
dumb
just
talk.
refers to a set of traits that you agree exist and can be clumped together? Like you could
As I
talk
told
about
you,
vocal
Jesus said,
intonation,
in the
clothing.
beginning, God made them male and female. There are no other distinctions about being male and female. And in fact, God said to the Jews that the men were not to wear the clothes of women and vice versa. And in that case, it simply went down to a specific pattern of fringe at the bottom of their clothing. Okay?
Yeah, I think
That
I'll let
it was forbidden for a male to wear clothing that was culturally distinctively female.
right. I don't think that would say that transgenderism is incoherent. I think that would just say like maybe it's wrong. it's wrong to express behaviors that are, like gender.
Yeah. How do you think this is going to fly on Judgment Day? It's not going to fly.
Okay, well, fair enough. But I'm trying to distinguish between. I understand you certainly think transgenderism is immoral. That I'm not arguing with you about right now.
It's not just immoral. It's delusionary. It's a delusion.
But what is the delusion, though? Because they don't think they're the other sex.
The delusion. No, what they do is they think that they are a female trapped in a male's body.
But female there refers to gender, not sex.
This is just double talk as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I don't. Okay, so this will be my last thing. You can have the last word. I think that
Listen, I'm not trying to disparage you. I'm talking about the line of reasoning that comes from them.
Them being trans people, or people who support them?
That where they talk about there's a distinction between gender and sex. It's double talk. It's malarkey.
You're gonna have to say one of them either like doesn't exist or something like that, or that they refer to the same thing. Like, do you deny that there is a cluster of traits we could refer to, like maybe the way someone dresses, their kind of vocal intonation, how they carry themselves socially? Like, do you doubt that we could refer to a cluster of traits?
You're talking
like
about
that?
Fashion?
I mean, I think that's part of gender, sure. It's like I think they call it like gender expression, right? I don't know all the terminology they use. But the point is just that I don't think you disagree that those kind of traits exist, like how someone expresses themselves.
Listen to me. All of this is a cultural outgrowth of the belief in evolution.
Okay, well, wait. Just would you agree that there is a set of behaviors typically associated with being one sex or the other? Like, if you're female, you typically wear certain
listen to me. Listen to me. Do you understand what is going on here? Is not a clash of facts. It's a clash of worldviews. And the transgender issue is simply symptomatic of the culture war and of worldviews. Okay? And this began in the late 19th century with Charles Darwin. And it spread decade after decade till now. What we have is an increasingly atheistic culture. Okay? And so what we have is a worldview clash, and we have a culture war. Okay? So first came the issue of homosexuality. Now we're having the issue of transgenderism. In the 1950s, every single one of these men, to use them as an example, would just simply be deemed, and I'll use their terminology, mentally ill or mentally deranged. But because the trans people have been aggressive and propagandized, people in academia who've adopted leftism, they've adopted materialism and evolution, they have succumbed to the LGBT cultural propaganda, and they've capitulated to it, including academia and Hollywood and the news media.
Well,
this didn't happen. This didn't happen because people are suddenly becoming enlightened. It's because Western culture, and especially culture in America, is becoming increasingly secularized or atheistic.
Yeah, so maybe all of these things that you perceive as problems, like the trans stuff, it just derives from a split between atheism and theism ultimately. Like, I could grant all that. And also, you let me know when you want to get back to talking about what you were talking about before, because I stole the show. But my only criticism is just when you say...
that's fine. That's not a problem. I said I was going to go to bed an hour and a half ago.
Fair enough. I mean, the only criticism I'm trying to raise is just when you say that the trans people are delusional, they don't believe they have a different sex, right? They have a different gender. And the gender part there is I think that... Can I just finish this sentence? Just this one sentence.
Well, let me
get this out.
Real quick. I think that distinction is a delusion.
But I think that to say that, you're going to have to say that sex and gender aren't referring to coherent and separate things, which they are. We know what sex refers to. We agreed about that. And gender, you're not going to disagree that there's a set of like behavioral kind of characteristics that we associate, that are typically associated with one or the other sex, right? And someone can have the one sex and have those sort of behavioral characteristics that are associated with the other. And that's being transgender. So unless you want to say one of those things is incoherent,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it doesn't cohere with the Christian worldview. Okay, and because you don't accept the Christian worldview, you are interpreting the facts um, from a pagan worldview, and it's no wonder you accept it.
but I'm asking you what part, like, I mean, fair. Maybe it's because I'm just fucking stupid atheist, but what part?
No, it's not. You're not stupid.
I'm being facetious. I'm trying to joke around.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe I'm just being silly.
I do not think you're stupid.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't think you're stupid either. But when you have a problem, like, look, the whole criticism I have is about the claim they're delusional, and so my response to that is to say they're not under the belief that they're of a sex that they aren't, which would be a delusion. They have a different gender than sex. Now, you want to say that distinction is incoherent.
What is gender?
I don't have the perfect definition, but it roughly, I think it refers to the sort of behavioral characteristics that are typically associated with one or the other sex.
I don't agree with that. I think that gender refers to whether you're male or female.
Say someone was using it to refer to that set of characteristics, though.
Yeah, and so what we have are the perverts who are propagandizing by manipulating language, and they do it all the time.
Now, just to be clear, I don't have to disagree with that, though. I don't have to disagree. I could grant that they're perverts and all this. The only question I'm interested in is the delusion one. You could say they're perverts, but they're not delusional if you want.
Yeah, they're delusional because
but where's the delusion?
They imagine that they're female in their head.
But you're referring to sex, aren't you?
Yeah,
you're referring to gender.
And I consider the bifurcation of gender and sex to be bunk.
Well, let's say I create a word called schmender, and it refers to all of the characteristics that are normally associated with being one or the other sex, the behavioral characteristics, roughly. If there's something more than that, then
listen. When you read the New Testament, there are certain words that the Apostle Paul used to refer to homosexuals. And it was not always the Greek word for homosexual. Sometimes it refers to males, and the term means to be soft. Okay, and it's a euphemism for men who are acting and behaving like women. And there's a couple of different terms that he uses. One of them is at its root means to be soft, and is correctly translated by the translators to mean effeminate. These are biological males who speak, act, and behave with female characteristics. Mm-hmm. And Paul refers to them as homosexuals and the effeminate. Mm-hmm. And it refers to them in that state that it is a choice.
Yeah, I mean, I could grant that it's a choice. I could grant that the condemnation of homosexuality includes transgenderism and therefore it's immoral. I could grant all of that, and it just wouldn't address the delusion thing. Can I ask you
hold on a second. Marbus. It makes no difference to me that we have certain academic institutions that are increasingly capitulating to people in the culture war. Okay, the American Medical Association years ago stated that alcoholism is a disease, which is a crock.
I'm not appealing to those authorities.
No, I was responding to Big Marbus.
Oh, okay.
So it may be the case. Okay, there's a number of wacky stuff that certain academic institutions have advocated for. Okay, it doesn't mean that I'm going to capitulate to them.
Now, I just want to avoid unnecessary conflict. I'm not challenging any kind of claims about whether it's ethical, about these kind of things. I'm just focusing on the delusion.
Listen. Even though we disagree on the topic, I'm not the least bit troubled by you asking me these questions.
Well, I appreciate that.
I don't think that you're in any way baiting me, trolling me, or asking in bad faith in spite of any disagreement we have.
Oh, well, I do appreciate that, so thank you.
Yeah.
So you tell me when you're tired of going around the axle on this, but I'll just ask one more time. So,
I just reached my limit. I got about 67. I'm about ready to pass out. I'm so tired.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
How about we do? I say one thing, you say the last word. So last thing I'll say on this topic is just that if you
Yeah.
claim it's a delusion, there has to be some like fact that is like clear that they're wrong about, right? And if the idea is they think they're women, they don't think they are the other sex, which would be a delusion. They think they're the other gender. If the reply to that is to say gender is incoherent or doesn't make sense or somehow the same as sex,
I
I'm just
think
gonna one sec. Can I just finish? Just let me finish this one. I'm just
yeah.
going to create a word, call it Schmender, and say Schmender refers to the behavioral traits typically associated with one sex or the other. And for the record, if there's more than that to gender, that's fine. I'm not deep in that topic, but that's roughly the kind of thing we're talking about. And I'm going to ask you, do you think that there is such a set of behavioral traits?
I think those traits are associated with the biological nature.
Sure,
But
yeah.
the point
That
is,
you
but the
agree.
point is, there, right? But the point is that these traits are by and large the product of underlying physicality. Now, some of the traits can be emulated by a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's sure.
okay.
I don't necessarily agree
So
with all the choice stuff, but I can grant that for the sake of argument, though. Yeah.
sure, and I believe that a lot of this starts to occur in youth. Years ago, I went to a biblical seminar that I learned a lot from, where it talked about that a lot of adult conflicts have their origin in youth conflicts. Not that somebody was mistreated or harmed, but that when somebody starts to enter adolescence and they um, adopt certain sinful ideas or practices, that if they don't repent of it, it can turn into a lifelong problem. And I believe this is what the nexus is in terms of a lot of homosexuality and transvestitism and sexual deviancy.
Darth, I
And so,
think I'm being made fun of
yeah.
in the way that someone in text is saying they're making fun of me for saying, "Do you accept the gender sex distinction to you?" Because I think you're always asking people, "Do you accept the creator creation distinction?"
Uh,
Hey, with that, I'll let you go. But thanks for talking about it, though.
yeah, I'm no really. I'm not trying to. I'm just. I am really. I'm just dead tired.
No worries at all.